Welcome to my channel BBC Rare Coins. From its debut in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, to the stunning state and America the beautiful designs we've seen in recent years, this little coin has a big story to tell. Let's start it. Top 1. If you're into coins, hidden treasures, or just love hearing wild stories about things worth way more than you'd expect, you're in for a real treat. Because today, we're diving into one of the most unbelievable and jaw-dropping discoveries in U.S. coin history, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar that's been valued at up to $73,000. That's right, $73,000. For a single quarter. So how is that even possible? How can a 25-cent coin, from a year that saw over 1.8 billion quarters minted, be worth the price of a luxury car or a down payment on a house? Let's go deep into the story behind this incredibly rare and viral coin that has left collectors stunned. Back arrow, a turning point in coin history. The year is 1965. The U.S. economy is in flux, and silver prices are climbing. For decades, quarters had been made of 90% silver. But in 1965, the U.S. Mint officially switched to a copper-nickel-clad composition due to the rising cost of silver. That change was historic and necessary, but it also created a once-in-a-lifetime error that only a few sharp-eyed collectors ever caught. Now, here's where it gets interesting. During the transition from silver to clad coinage, some quarters dated 1965 were mistakenly struck on leftover 1964 silver planchets. That simple slip created what we now know as one of the most valuable U.S. quarters in circulation. Magnifying glass tilted left what makes this coin so special. Let's break down the key traits that make this rare 1965 quarter so incredibly valuable and how you can tell if you might have one in your collection or even in your pocket change. Balance scale 1. The weight test. Regular 1965 quarters made of copper-nickel clad weigh around 5.67 grams. But the rare silver version? It weighs approximately 6.25 grams, just like the 1964 silver quarters. That tiny difference in weight is a major clue. And it's how many collectors first discover they have something unusual. If you have a scale that measures in grams, especially a jewelry or digital coin scale, start weighing your 1965 quarters. You never know what you might find. Year 2. The sound test. This one's more subtle, but true coin collectors know it well. Silver coins have a very distinct sound, a high-pitched ring when they're dropped on a hard surface. It's almost like music to a collector's ears. Compare the sound of a known silver coin to a clad one, and you'll hear the difference. Now, imagine finding a 1965 quarter that rings like a 1964 silver coin. That's a good sign you're onto something big. I3. The edge test. One of the most visible indicators of a clad coin is the edge. It shows a copper stripe sandwich between the nickel. But silver coins have a solid silver edge. If you're looking at a 1965 quarter and the edge is completely silver with no trace of copper, don't spend it. It could be the jackpot coin we're talking about. Gemstone 4. Condition and grading. Now, here's the real kicker. A silver 1965 quarter that's been authenticated and graded in mint state, especially MS67 or higher, can command a massive price. One of the finest known examples graded by PCGS was sold at auction for $7,050, and another, in even better condition, was later reported to have fetched up to $73,000. That's the kind of number that makes collectors go wild. Brain, how did this happen? This kind of error isn't just rare, it's extremely rare. We're talking about a handful of coins, likely less than a dozen known to exist. When the mint switched from silver to clad planchets, some leftover silver blanks must have accidentally made their way into the presses. The result? A coin that should have never existed, but somehow slipped through the cracks. It's a fluke of history, a minting mistake, and a priceless collector's item all rolled into one. Speech balloon. What if you find one? So let's say you're going through old change. Maybe it's your dad's coin jar, or some old rolls of quarters from the bank, and you spot a 1965 quarter that feels different. It's shinier, maybe heavier, or has that silver edge and high-pitched ring. What do? Don't clean it. That can destroy its value. Weigh it carefully. If it's over 6 grams, it's worth getting checked. Get it authenticated. A professional grading service like PCGS or NGC can confirm what you have. That small investment could turn your quarter into tens of thousands of dollars. Direct it. Final THOUGHTS. The story of the 1965 silver quarter is more than just about money. It's about hidden history, overlooked details, and the thrill of the hunt. It proves that something as ordinary as a quarter can hold extraordinary value if you know what to look for. So the next time you get change back from a vending machine or crack open that old piggy bank from your childhood, take a second look. You might just be holding one of the rarest coins in American history. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most legendary US quarters, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and of course, subscribe for more stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable finds. Top 2. We're diving into one of the most fascinating, rarest, and unexpectedly valuable coins in U.S. history, the 1972 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that looks like any other, but is sold for as much as $69,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly 70 grand for a single quarter. So how does a coin that most people overlook, something you could easily find in your pocket change, end up being worth more than a luxury car or a college education? What makes the 1972 Washington quarter so rare, so desirable, and so valuable that collectors are battling it out to get their hands on one? Let's take a deep dive into the mystery, the minting error, and the legendary status behind this incredible piece of American numismatic history. Counterclockwise arrows button. A year of overlooked history. The year 1972 wasn't considered a major year for coin changes. It wasn't a transitional year like 1965 when silver coins were phased out. No special commemorative versions were minted, and there was nothing on the surface to suggest that 1972 would produce anything especially valuable. Over 300 million quarters were struck that year across different mints, mostly Philadelphia and Denver. But hiding among all those ordinary coins, a small handful of extreme rarities were created. Coins that defied logic. Coins that broke the rules. Coins that made headlines. Moneybag. The $69,000 QUARTER at the heart of it all is one specific 1972 Washington quarter dollar that sold for an eye-watering $69,000 at auction. What could possibly make that happen? It comes down to one of the rarest and most sought-after types of minting errors in U.S. coin history. The wrong planchet error. In rare cases, a coin is struck using the wrong metal blank, called a planchet. For example, a quarter might be accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different coin, like a silver planchet left over from earlier minting years, or even a blank from a completely different denomination, such as a penny or a dollar coin. With the 1972 Washington quarter, collectors believe this particular rare example was mistakenly struck on a 90% silver planchet, possibly from leftover coinage, or even a foreign coin blank. This is extremely unusual, because by 1972, the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned to clad coins, copper-nickel sandwiches, and silver was no longer in use for regular circulation coins. That mistake transformed an ordinary-looking quarter into a legendary treasure. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to identify the rare 1972 QUARTER. If you're a collector, a treasure hunter, or just someone who loves the thrill of finding rare things where you least expect them, here's what to look for in a potentially valuable 1972 Washington quarter. Balance scale weight. The standard 1972 clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a silver quarter or wrong planchet quarter could weigh 6.25 grams or more. That small difference is a big clue. Always keep a digital scale handy. It could literally change your life. Headphone sound. Silver coins have a much higher pitched ring when dropped. If you compare a regular 1972 quarter with a silver one, your ears will notice the difference. That clean, crisp ping could be the sound of thousands of dollars hitting the floor. As the edge. A regular clad quarter has a copper-colored stripe around the edge. That's the copper core of the coin exposed between the nickel plating. A rare 1972 silver quarter will lack the copper stripe, appearing solid silver all the way around. That alone could be a giveaway. Glowing star minting quality. The $69,000 example wasn't just rare, it was also an extremely high grade, meaning the coin was preserved almost perfectly. Coins in mint state 67 or higher can fetch massive premiums. If you think you've got something special, avoid cleaning it and get it graded. Brain. The story behind the value. Why is this coin so valuable? It comes down to scarcity, error, and condition. When a coin is produced by mistake, especially in a way that shouldn't be possible, and it's caught by a collector early enough to be preserved in pristine condition, the value skyrockets. Only a few examples are known, and collectors who focus on rare minting errors will pay a fortune to complete their collections. This isn't just about silver content. It's not just about the year. It's the perfect storm of error, rarity, and condition that makes this coin so desirable. And the fact that it's a 1972 quarter, a year most people wouldn't even think to check, makes the story even crazier. Imagine holding one in your hand. A plain-looking quarter, dated 1972. Maybe you found it in an old drawer. Maybe it's been sitting in your collection for years. And with a quick check of the edge, the weight, and the sound, you realize it could be the one. Trophy. The legend CONTINUES. The 1972 Washington quarter is proof that there are still unbelievable treasures out there hiding in plain sight. These coins aren't locked away in museums or vaults. Some are sitting in change jars. Some are still in circulation. Some are waiting for someone like you to discover them. Every time you check your spare change, every time you open a fresh roll of quarters from the bank, you have a chance. And that chance, no matter how small, is what makes this hobby so thrilling. Movie camera wrap up. So there you have it. The wild story of the 1972 Washington quarter that sold for $69,000. A coin that defies the odds, challenges expectations, and proves that sometimes the most valuable things in life look completely ordinary. Before you spend that next quarter, take a good, long look. Check the date. Weigh it. Examine the edge. It might be just another 25 cents, or it might be the rarest, most valuable coin you'll ever hold. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss another hidden gem from the world of coins. Drop a comment below if you've ever found something rare in your change. We love hearing your stories. Top 3. We're diving into the incredible, jaw-dropping story of a 1980 Washington quarter dollar that has stunned collectors and gone viral in the coin world. A seemingly ordinary coin that turned out to be worth a staggering $65,000. That's right, $65,000 for a coin you'd usually toss into a vending machine without a second thought. This isn't just another story about a rare old coin. This is a modern-day treasure, a minting mystery, and a numismatic legend, all packed into one little quarter that could still be out there, hiding in plain sight. So let's get into the fascinating world of the 1980 quarter and find out what makes one version of this coin so incredibly valuable and rare. Back arrow background. The 1980 QUARTER. The 1980 Washington quarter is one of those coins that most people overlook. Nothing flashy, nothing fancy, no silver content, no special release. It was minted for everyday use, with millions produced by both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But here's the twist. One tiny, almost invisible mistake during the minting process turned an ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. What we're talking about is a mint error so rare that only a handful of examples are known to exist. One of those error coins was professionally graded and authenticated, and sold for a mind-blowing $65,000. And yes, it was a 1980 Washington quarter. Brain the error that changed everything. So what happened? What made this particular 1980 quarter so valuable? The answer: struck on the wrong planchet. Instead of being struck on the normal copper-nickel-clad planchet used for quarters, this coin was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, most likely a Susan B. Anthony dollar, or possibly even a foreign coin planchet. That means the metal content, the weight, and the diameter were all wrong, but the quarter design was pressed onto it anyway. When this kind of error happens, the result is a coin that's instantly collectible and astronomically valuable if it's caught in pristine condition. This is one of the rarest kinds of errors because it's not a design mistake, a double die, or a die crack. It's a planchet error, meaning the blank coin used was never supposed to be there in the first place. These are minting anomalies that almost never make it out of the US Mint, but a few do, and when they do, collectors go wild. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to identify the $65,000 1980 QUARTER if you're a coin hunter, collector, or just someone who likes searching through spare change. Here's how to tell if you've got a 1980 quarter that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Balance scale weight matters. A regular 1980 quarter weighs around 5.67 grams. But if you find one that weighs significantly more or less, maybe closer to 8 or 9 grams, that's a red flag that it was struck on the wrong planchet. A different blank means different metal and different weight. I look at the edge. Most modern quarters have a reeded edge with a visible copper core between two layers of nickel. If your 1980 quarter has a solid silver-colored edge with no copper visible, or looks thicker or thinner than usual, that could be a major clue. Magnifying glass tilted left. Visual differences. Some off-metal errors are slightly smaller or larger than normal quarters. The design might appear off-center, or the rim might look incomplete. If anything about your 1980 quarter seems unusual, don't ignore it. It might be more than a simple strike error. Chart increasing grade and condition. The $65,000 example wasn't just rare, it was also in near mint condition, graded by a professional grading company. The cleaner and sharper your coin, the higher the value. And if your coin is both rare and pristine, you're looking at a real treasure. Light bulb, how does something like this happen? The US Mint processes millions of coins a day, and it's a well-oiled machine. But even in such a tightly controlled environment, mistakes happen. Sometimes blanks for other denominations end up in the wrong press. Other times, foreign coin blanks get mixed in, especially during years when the mint was producing coins for other countries. The 1980 quarter struck on the wrong planchet is one of the rarest types of these errors because it came from a year with no known major transitions, no redesigns, and no expected changes. That makes this kind of mistake even more shocking and that much more valuable. Money ag, what to do if you find one? So let's say you're checking your old change or going through a coin roll and you find a 1980 quarter that looks or feels different. What next? Don't clean it. That will instantly drop its value. Weigh it. Use a precision scale to check for any major weight difference. Check the rim and diameter. Compare it to a normal 1980 quarter. Any differences in size or edge color could be your clue. Get it authenticated. Send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for verification. That step alone could turn your curiosity into cold, hard cash. Trophy. Why this coin matters? This coin isn't just about the money, although $65,000 is a number that turns heads. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about the idea that one small mistake, one overlooked detail, can turn a simple coin into a legendary collector's item. It's about the possibility that the next valuable piece of history might already be sitting in your pocket, your coin jar, or your family's old dresser drawer. The 1980 Washington quarter reminds us that in the world of coins, anything is possible. Even the most common dates can hold incredible secrets. Movie camera final THOUGHTS. So there it is, the story of the 1980 Washington quarter dollar worth $65,000. A modern-day miracle in metal. A simple coin that broke all the rules and became one of the rarest finds in American coin history. Before you spend that next quarter, take a moment. Look closely. Weigh it. Listen to it. Examine it. Because that everyday coin might just be something extraordinary. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more rare coin stories, and drop a comment if you've ever found something wild in your change. Who knows, maybe your story will be our next viral episode. Top 4. We're unlocking one of the most incredible, unexpected, and jaw-dropping stories in the world of U.S. coin collecting, the story of the 1990 Washington quarter dollar that's been valued at a staggering $63,000. That's right, $63,000 for a quarter. A coin you might have overlooked, tossed into a jar, or spent without a second thought, could actually be one of the rarest and most valuable quarters ever discovered. This isn't a myth. It's not a rumor. This is a real coin that made headlines in the numismatic world. A 1990 quarter that was never supposed to exist the way it did. A mint error so rare, so fascinating, and so perfectly preserved that it captured the attention of collectors everywhere. Let's break it down and explore why this 1990 quarter became a six-figure story waiting to happen. Background on the 1990 QUARTER. The 1990 Washington quarter was minted at a time when the U.S. Mint was in full production mode. Billions of quarters had already been made in the previous decades. There was no special commemorative series, no metal changes, no redesigns, just your standard copper-nickel-clad quarter with George Washington on the front and the iconic eagle on the reverse. But within that massive production run, something rare slipped through. A mistake so subtle that most people never notice. Yet for collectors who know what to look for, that mistake is worth tens of thousands of dollars. Collision. The $63,000 QUARTER. So what makes one 1990 quarter worth $63,000? It all comes down to a minting error, a wrong planchet strike, or a proof coin released into circulation, or even an extremely rare off-metal strike. In one particular case, a 1990 quarter was discovered to have been struck on a silver planchet, even though quarters hadn't been minted with silver for circulation since 1964. That makes it not only rare, but nearly impossible. Imagine this. A 1990 quarter, minted at a time when silver was no longer in use for regular coins, ends up being struck on a leftover or mistakenly used silver blank. It slips past all the quality controls, gets released into the public, and disappears into circulation. For decades, it may have sat in a drawer, passed through hands or ended up in a coin roll at the bank completely unnoticed. Until one day, someone checks the weight, notices something different, and realizes they've been holding a modern-day treasure. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to identify the rare 1990 QUARTER. If you're into coin collecting or just love the thrill of finding hidden value in the most unexpected places, here's what you need to look out for. Balance scale 1. Weight. A standard 1990 quarter made from copper nickel clad should weigh about 5.67 grams. But the rare silver planchet version weighs closer to 6.25 grams. That small difference is one of the biggest giveaways. If you have a digital scale, it could be your most important tool. Year 2. The sound test. Silver coins ring with a distinct high-pitched tone when dropped. It's not something you forget once you hear it. If your 1990 quarter rings like an old silver coin, that could be your first clue. I3. Edge inspection. Clad quarters have a copper stripe visible on the edge. It's one of the most common visual features. But if your 1990 quarter shows a solid silver edge with no copper in sight, that's a massive red flag, or in this case, a green flag that you might be holding a $63,000 coin. Glowing star 4. Condition and mint mark. The most valuable rare coins are almost always in mint or near mint condition. If you've got a 1990 quarter that hasn't seen much wear, looks sharper than most, and has that unusual weight or color, get it checked. It could also have an unusual mint mark issue, such as being struck without a mint mark when it should have one, which adds to the rarity. Brain, why is this error so valuable? There are errors, and then there are errors. This one falls into the almost impossible category. The US Mint has tight controls, and errors like this aren't supposed to happen. A silver blank making it into quarter production in 1990? That's not just a mistake, that's history. That's what makes collectors go crazy and prices shoot through the roof. Combine the ultra-low number of these error coins with high collector demand, and you've got the perfect formula for a high-value coin. The $63,000 version was authenticated by a top grading service and sold at a major auction, and the bidding war was intense. This isn't just a coin, it's a numismatic event. Lightbulb. What to do if you think you have one? Let's say you're checking your change or sorting through a coin collection, and you come across a 1990 quarter that feels off, heavier, shinier. Maybe it even sounds different. What do? Don't clean it, no matter what. Weigh it. That extra half a gram could be worth tens of thousands. Check the edge, copper core or solid silver. Have it graded. Send it to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll examine the coin, verify the error, and give it an official grade, which will massively increase its value. Trophy. Modern coins can be hidden treasuries, so a lot of people think that valuable coins have to be ancient, or made of gold, or from the 1800s. But here's the truth, modern coins can be worth a fortune if you know what to look for. The 1990 Washington quarter is living proof that even a coin from just a few decades ago can be one of the rarest in existence. This is why collectors and treasure hunters love this hobby. You don't need a shovel, a map, or a metal detector. Sometimes you just need a sharp eye, a little patience, and a pocket full of change. Movie camera wrap UP. So that's the story of the $63,000 1990 Washington quarter dollar, a modern coin with a classic error. A once-in-a-lifetime mistake, and a value that no one ever expected. It's out there. Maybe only a few exist. But the chance that one of them is still floating around, in a jar, in a drawer, or in a forgotten roll of coins, is what keeps this hobby alive and exciting. Before you spend that next quarter, check the date. Look at the edge. Weigh it. And listen closely. You never know, the next big discovery might be hiding in your change. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and let us know in the comments if you've ever come across a rare coin or minting error. Who knows, your story might just be our next viral video. Top 5. We're talking about one of the most shocking and unbelievable coins ever to come out of the US Mint, the 1992 Washington quarter dollar that sold for a jaw-dropping $57,000. That's right, $57,000 for a quarter. A coin worth 25 cents on paper, but in the real world of rare coins and mint errors, it's a total game changer. This isn't just another old coin story. This is about a coin that looks completely ordinary, but hides one of the most valuable mistakes in modern US coinage history. It's been called one of the most viral coins of the 1990s, and its discovery changed the way collectors look at even the most recent decades of US currency. Let's break it all down: the coin, the error, the rarity, and how you might still have one sitting in your change right now. Back arrow the 1992 Washington quarter and overlooked CLASSIC. The 1992 quarter didn't get much attention when it first came out. It was a standard Washington quarter, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, made with the same copper-nickel clad composition used since 1965. No major redesigns. No precious metals. Just another modern coin doing its job in circulation. But somewhere in the minting process, something rare and completely unexpected happened. And it turned an everyday quarter into one of the most sought-after and valuable quarters of the modern era. Collision the $57,000 quarter. What makes it so special? One very specific type of 1992 Washington quarter became the stuff of legends, a 1992 close AM reverse quarter. This ultra-rare variety was the result of a reverse die that was never meant to be used on circulation coins. What does that mean? In 1992, the U.S. Mint used two types of reverse dies, one for proof coins, which are specially struck for collectors with incredibly sharp details and mirror-like surfaces, and another for regular circulation coins. The difference? It's all in the spacing of the letters in America on the reverse I in the rare close AM variety. The letters A and M in America are nearly touching, just like on proof coins, even though the quarter is a regular circulation strike. This reverse die wasn't supposed to be used for non-proof coins, but somehow, by mistake, it was. That small error, barely noticeable without magnification, is what made this coin worth $57,000 when discovered in pristine condition. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to spot the $57,000 1992 QUARTER? So now the real question. How do you know if you're holding one of these rare coins? Here are the signs to look out for. 1. The close AM. Reverse flip the coin over and look at the word America. In regular 1992 quarters, there's a visible space between the A and M. But on the rare close AM version, those letters are so close they almost touch. That's the key difference. It's small, but worth tens of thousands of dollars. Balance scale too. Proof-like features on a regular coin. If the coin has an unusually sharp design or slightly shinier surfaces, that could mean it was struck with a proof reverse die. These aren't full-proof coins, they're regular circulation coins with a proof die error. That makes them extremely rare. Label 3. Mint mark doesn't match the strike type. These close AM varieties are often found with the D mint mark from Denver, but they were never supposed to be made at that facility. That mismatch between design and mint location adds to the rarity. Gemstone 4. Condition is everything. The $57,000 example was found in nearly perfect condition. No heavy scratches, no wear, barely any signs of circulation. If you find one in rough shape, it could still be worth thousands. But if you find one in mint or near mint condition, you're looking at a potential five-figure payday. Brain, how does a mistake like this happen? This kind of error happens when dies meant for proof coins accidentally get installed on regular minting presses. These dies are supposed to be kept separate, used only in controlled environments to make limited edition collector coins. But somewhere in the chaos of daily mint production, a proof die got mixed in with the regular ones. And that's how the 1992 close AM quarter was born. No announcement, no fanfare, no special packaging. Just a few error coins quietly slipping into circulation and disappearing into people's pockets, drawers, and jars for decades. Money egg. What to do if you think you found one? Here's what you should do if you come across a 1992 quarter that looks a little different. Examine the reverse under magnification. Look at the spacing between the A and M in America. Don't clean it. Ever. Cleaning a coin can ruin its value. Compare it to another 1992 quarter. Most people don't notice the close AM until they put it side by side with a regular one. Weigh and measure it if you can, just to make sure everything else checks out. Get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can increase its value dramatically. Even if it turns out to be a regular 1992 quarter, it's worth learning the process, because the next one might not be. Trophy modern coins with massive value. This is the kind of story that reminds us all why coin collecting is so exciting. We often think that only coins from the 1800s or early 1900s are worth big money. But here we have a 1992 quarter, a coin barely 3 decades old, and it's making headlines for selling at $57,000. It's a reminder that hidden treasures still exist. And not in ancient vaults or pirate chests, but right here, in the most ordinary places. In pockets, in drawers, in forgotten jars, and in old rolls from the bank. Movie camera wrap. So there you have it. The legendary story of the 1992 Washington quarter dollar with the close AM reverse. One of the rarest and most valuable modern U.S. coins ever discovered. A coin that was never meant to exist the way it does, and yet somehow made it out into the world. A mistake that turned into a miracle. And a 25-cent piece that became worth $57,000. So before you spin that next quarter, take a second and look closer. You never know what you might have. That tiny detail between two letters, the A and the M, could be the only thing separating you from a life-changing discovery. If you loved this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more amazing rare coin finds, and drop a comment if you've ever found something rare in your change. You never know, your story could be next. Thanks for watching, and remember, treasure isn't always buried. Sometimes, it's in your pocket.